Hi everyone, it's Gege here and welcome to Be Colorful! Today we will open together the Tonic Craft Kit number 41, a very sweet kit that will allow us to create ice creams. The palette proposed in this kit focuses on pastel colors, colors widely used to represent sweets and candies. In all the Tonic Craft Kit we find the set of exclusive dies and stamps, a selection of Nuvo products, and a set of Craft Perfect cards, all match the theme of the kit. Dies and stamps cannot be bought separately, while all other products can be bought in the shops. I remind you that below in the description box you will find the list of all the products included in the kit and those not included that I will use during the video. Also, if you'd like more information about this monthly kit, I leave you the link to the Tonic Studios website down below in the description box. This is the set of cards, where we find a pastel lilac classic card, a violet satin mirror card, a baby blue pearlescent paper, a baby pink pearlescent paper, a glitter paper with iridescent white glitter, a light teal embossed paper, and finally the special pearlescent pink cotton paper. In March, Tonic Studios launched the new Sweet Sorbet trend with the new color range of papers and Nuvo product. Also, this trend adds this paper pad, a pack of pastel-colored pattern paper and mainly geometric patterns. Let's move on to the Nuvo products. The Sweet Sorbet trend introduces new Nuvo products with sweet pastel colors. In the kit we find randomly 2 bottles of this pure Sheen pack. For example, I get glitters and art confetti. A very soft light blue hybrid ink pad, a pastel yellow embossing powder, this is a sample, a full bottle of shimmer powder, a powder with a very bright finish that contains pigment of various colors that create a truly special effect, a full bottle of pastel lilac vintage drops. Once dry, this type of Nuvo drops will have a matte finish. A lilac glazier paste with tiny silver flakes that will give our projects a very shine effect. Okay, now let's have a look to the dies. As I have already said, this month we will be able to open a sweet ice cream shop. In fact, we find 2 main dies to create 2 types of ice cream. Each of the ice creams has their coordinated dies to create various layers or outlines, or coordinated dies to decorate ice cream or to add sentiment. Then we find 2 dies to create a nice face for ice cream, a cloud and stars to decorate our projects, And finally, these two dice that I have not idea what they represent. I don't know if anyone knows. Write it below in the comments, please. And this was the die set. But the peculiarity of this kit is that it has been designed to create beautiful shaker cards. We can use normal acetate and foam tape as always. However, we also find these blisters that fit perfectly with the shapes of the dice. The blisters allow us to create shaker cards faster without using the foam tape because, as you can see, they already have their thickness to accommodate the shaker element. Okay, let's finish the unboxing with the stamp set, which contains very nice and sweet sentiments, as well as decorations, like this cheerful face and the smiling sun. Well, that was the sweet and colorful Kit 41. I can't wait to get to work. In fact, let's not waste any more time and let's start with the first card. For the first three cards, I'd like to give you some ideas for using pattern papers. One way that I find useful to use this kind of paper is the use of card sketches. In my opinion, this template facilitates the design of a card, and in case you would like to use pattern papers, they help not to visually overload the card, allowing us to use cards with different patterns and colors together. For this card, I will use the card sketch you see on the left. First of all, I'm going to prepare the card base, a standard card that's 4¼ by 5½ inches, using a white 300 GSM cardstock. For the background panel, you can use any combination of pattern paper you prefer. I'll opt for some slightly masculine colors, in particular yellow, light blue, teal and brown. The yellow and teal pattern paper of the pad included in the kit both have a stripped pattern, and I honestly don't really like them seen together. So I take the yellow paper from this paper pad. I'm going to cut out the two paper panels. Which together will make a 5 by 3¾ inches panel. Now I line them up and make an oblique cut in the central part. Now I'm going to prepare the central rectangle panel by die cutting white cardstock with a rectangle die. I chose the die large enough to accommodate most of the ice cream, which I will create with the smallest die of the set. The main one is really too big and would cover almost the entire surface of the card. Okay, now let's move on to the focal point, for which I'm going to create a cream and chocolate twist ice cream. So I'm going to die cut the ivory cardstock with the smallest die of the set, and I also create the twist with the coordinated die. On a chocolate cardstock, I'm going to die cut only the twist part. I assemble the ice cream by gluing all its parts on the white rectangle panel. Then I'm gonna create the popsicle stick using this part of the main die of the kit. And the ice cream is ready. I continue the card by die cutting a chocolate brown panel that will create the finishing border to the background panel. For the horizontal banner, I'm going to die cut the light blue pearlescent paper from the kit. I don't have a stitched die that is that long, so I'm going to die cut two small rectangles. Then, having glued the other panels in the central part, the banner will still look like a single strip of paper. With double-sided tape adhesive, I'm going to attach the pattern paper panels on the brown panel. I also apply some liquid glue so that I have time to place the panels straight. Then I'm going to glue the pearlescent light blue banner and the chocolate panel on the card base. I think the white panel needs finishing edges to stand out even more, so I'm going to die cut the yellow paper using a rectangle die that is bigger, a little bit bigger than the white panel. Okay, I can glue everything with liquid glue, but before gluing the panel on the card base, I'm going to add some pieces of cardstock, just to keep everything nice and level. I chop off the excesses. And let's move on to the sentiment, for which I will die cut a small rectangle on white cardstock, on which I will stamp "Have a Sweet Day" of the set included in the kit. For stamping, I'm using VersaFine Onyx Black, which, being a slow-drying ink, allows me time to do a hot embossing technique with clear embossing powder, giving the sentiment an embossed and glossy finish. After embossing, I'm going to add to the sentiment some light blue pearlescent borders. I glue the sentiment on the card and I finish it off by creating a few drops of Nuvo drops using the blue and yellow vintage drop. How I wish I hadn't done this. This choice will lead to a real disaster. Yes, the ice cream has melted. I don't know if this was caused by the glossy accent I used, or is the paper losing too much color when we use a wet medium on top. Anyway, here we are with the ruined work. I don't want to throw everything away, so I removed the central part of the card, that is the ice cream, the white and the yellow panel. Now I make the ice cream again, this time with a chocolate base with a white glitter paper twist. So now I can glue the ice cream onto the white rectangle. I create the last drops again. And I also add some stars by die cutting the light blue pearlescent paper with the die included in the kit. I redid the sentiment and I'm going to glue it on the top of my card, and this unlucky card is finished. I must say that I prefer the version of this ice cream over the previous one. What do you think? For the second card, I'm going to propose you the same design as the first card, but using a more feminine color combo, including pink, lilac and pastel yellow. First, I'm going to prepare the card base on white cardstock in standard size, that's 4¼ by 5½ inches. From the paper pad included in the kit, I'm going to select two pattern papers, the one with yellow and white stripes and the lilac one with white polka dot. I decided to customize the striped one a little bit, adding glittery stripes. To do this, I first apply some very strong double-sided tape adhesive, covering some white lines. I peel off the protective film and with a box inside which I put a sheet of paper, I sparkle the surface with the pink glitter included in my kit. Thanks to the paper sheet, I can store the excesses inside the bottle. I'm going to press the glitter, making them adhere well into the adhesive. I brush away the excesses and I clean up my surface with a hand vacuum cleaner. Now the pattern paper looks so much cuter and shinier. Next, I'm going to cut out the panels, which together will form a 5 by 3¾ panel. I cut out the excesses and I continue with the creation of the central pearlescent pink banner using the same method I used for the previous card. Then on white cardstock I'm gonna make the central rectangle that will host the ice cream. The finishing edges of the white panel will be pastel yellow. While for the edges of the background panel I use the lilac satin paper from the kit. To save some paper, I'm going to remove the central part, which will be covered by the main panel. And let's move on to create the focal point, which will be a cream and blueberries twist ice cream. I'm going to make the popsicle stick on pink pearlescent paper with a white glitter background. And I'm ready to assemble everything. I'm going to add some leftover cardstock in the central part, just to keep everything nice and level. Okay, I can glue the ice cream and finish assembling it by attaching the white glitter paper twist. I trim off the excess banner and I move on to the sentiment, die cutting a small rectangle out of white cardstock on which I'm going to stamp "Have a nice day" of the kit with a black ink, to then perform the heat embossing. Only after stamping I decided to use the pastel yellow embossing powder included in the kit, so I could have used the clear ink, but that's fine. The powder is pretty opaque. I'm going to add some pearlescent pink edges to the sentiment. And as final touches, I'm going to glue a couple of stars created with the pearlescent pink paper and the violet satin mirror card. I also add a few drops of lilac vintage drop included in the kit, ending the second card. For the third card, I'm going to propose another idea of how to use pattern papers, specifically using the small pieces of leftover paper. Even in this case, you can help yourself with a card sketch, finding one that contains a small element, like the one I will use. I'm making my card base on white cardstock in standard size, that's 4¼ by 5½ inches. Then, with a stitch square die, this creates squares of about 1¼ inches. I'm gonna create the background element present in the card design. If you don't have a square die, you can cut out squares with your trimmer, or you can completely change the shape using circles, hearts, hexagons, etc. However, I'm going to die cut a square for each side of the pattern paper included in the pad, and in total they will be 8. Next, I'm going to prepare a 5¼ by 4 inches panel, slightly smaller than the card base. On this panel I will glue the squares, positioning them in such a way that they don't have two similar color next to the other, such as the squares with colored sugar on a white background. Once I have decided their position, I'm going to glue them, helping me with a T-ruler to position them straight. Next, I'm going to create the finishing edges for this panel with lilac paper included in the kit. I cut out a panel a little bit larger than the background panel, about 1/60 of an inch. Therefore, I get a lilac border and a little bit of card base showing. And let's move on to prepare the ice cream, always with blueberry or blackberry flavor. To save some paper, I'm die cutting the ice cream on the panel that I made a few seconds ago. Then I'm going to create the popsicle stick with craft paper. Then I'm going to make the icing, but the die is too small for this form of ice cream. I used the larger die, so I'm going to die cut the top of the ice cream onto the glitter paper of the kit. Then I use the icing die to trace the borders of the icing. I'm going to cut out following the line. And I'm going to glue the icing onto the ice cream. Next, with this violet ink, I'm going to add a few shades on the ice cream, applying the color with a finger sponge. Finally, I glue the popsicle stick on the ice cream. Instead of the tag proposed in the card sketch, I'm going to create a background for the ice cream using a scalloped circle die cutting on white pearlescent paper. Now let's move on to the sentiment. I'm going to stamp on a strip of white cardstock the Stay Cool sentiment of the kit, but I want the word on the same line. Therefore, I'm going to cover the word cool and the exclamation point with masking tape. Then I put the ink on the stamp. I remove the masking tape and stamp. After cleaning the stamp, I'm going to reposition it by aligning the word cool with the one already stamped. So I cover the word stay this time with masking tape. I dab the stamp with ink. I remove the masking tape and stamp. Perfect! Off screen I created fishtails at the end of the sentiment strip and added lilac finishing edges. Let's give a little bit of darker shade to the lilac finishing edges too, with the same ink used for the ice cream. So I can proceed to assemble the card. For the ice cream, I'm gonna use the foam pad just to give a nice dimension to the card. Of course, I also use the foam pad for the sentiment, so as not to create horrible differences of level. I'm gluing everything on the card base. And as finishing touches, I'm going to create a few drops of vintage lilac drop included in the kit. Well, these were my first 3 cards made using the sweet Tonic Craft Kit number 41. In the next video I'll propose you some ideas on how to use the Nuvo shimmer powder, and we will also create a special window card. I hope you enjoyed the video, got inspired. Don't forget to leave me a like and even a comment if you like. For now, I thank you, see you next time, and be colorful!